Hello, all of you. We'll start with the Class 12 NCERT. I'm starting a NCERT series where I'll discuss first of all the two books of Class 12. It's imperative for all those who are into Class 12 and anyone who intends to take the civil services exam conducted by the UPSC. These two books will help you a lot in General Studies Paper 1, some part that is post independent consolidation, and then there is your second paper, GS2, where you have to study international relations. So NCRTs are almost inevitable for any civil services aspirants, and also to those students who are who are going to face the board exam now. So I'll start with the NCRT, and gradually I'll keep making videos and sharing here on my YouTube. Whatever doubts you have after the end of a chapter, suppose you are unable to understand anything, then please feel free to comment underneath the video. Whatever questions you have, I'll be more than happy to answer them. So let us start with the chapter now. And here on your screen, you have this first chapter from one of the books, that is Politics in India Since Independence. Now, the first chapter says it is about challenges of nation building. So let us try to understand this, what this challenges of nation building was. I'll just sum up the gist of these first page, the three paragraphs that are given on the first page. You can read them and you will understand if you listen to this video. See, India was a very fragmented country, fragmented in terms of the polity, the society, the administrative structure, and everything. Before Britishers came to India, there were many small kingdoms. After Mughals were gone, which means post Aurangzeb, there were several independent states that emerged. There was no central authority. Of course, Britishers provided us central authority, but then the fault lines were huge. The differences were very wide. So once the British are gone, now it is up to the Indians. How do they try to, what efforts do they make to pat this, to kind of bridge these gaps? So this was the moment. Now independence has been achieved. So now Indians really need to came up with some uniformity in terms of nation building. So that was a very big challenge for India, given the diversity that we have, the length and breadth of this country, the size, the population, and the heterogeneity. You go to one place of India from the other. Rajendra Prasad, the first president, said, "Kos kos par pani badle char kos par badi," which means kos is actually a unit of distance. I'm unable to recall how many kilometers equals to one kos. But from one coast to the other coast, you cross one coast, pani will change, the water would change, and on char coast, the wani, the boli will change. The same language Hindi is spoken differently in different regions within the same state. The Hindi of Western UP is very different than what the Eastern UP says. The Hindi of Delhi is very different than what people in Bihar would say, or what people in Hyderabad would say. So there's a lot of heterogeneity. Now, how to bring these differences, how to bring these different people all together, that was the challenge. So that was not going to be easy, as rightly written here. And India was born in very difficult circumstances. There were riots going on. The Hindu-Muslim divide was very, very palpable and intense. So there was this trauma of displacement. Now here is Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of our country, giving his historic speech from the ramparts of Red Fort on 15th of August 1947. That's the Jama Masjid in the background, and see the huge crowd that has gathered here to listen to the first Prime Minister of India. Now these were the newspaper clippings on that day. July 19, this is 1947, end of 200-year-old British rule in India, and a royal assent to independent bill. That is the day when bill was tabled, and then Lord Mountbatten and Prime Minister Clement Attlee worked for it and handed over the whatever was left after they kind of tried to extract everything, but then finally they had to go. So once they went, what were the challenges that the Indians were left with? So the book has rightly identified three challenges. First was immediate challenge to shape a nation that was united yet accommodative of the diversity in our society. See, at the second line at least says that India was a land of continental size and diversity. It's like almost like a continent, it's not a country. Here you have the Himalayas, then you have the seas, you have the desert, then you have a place that gets one of the most largest amount of rainfall in the world. So the given the type of seasons, the crops, the geography, the diversity, everything is so vast that it's actually not found in any other country in the world. Such a diversity. Diversity is a good thing. Plurality is a good thing. But as a nation, you need to be accommodative to inculcate these diversities and uh, move forward. That was a huge challenge in 1947. Different languages followed different religions and cultures, and it was, some of the British historians actually alleged that India will not be able to survive as a country within 10 to 20 years. It will disperse, it will again break down. Why? Because they are not one people, there are so different type of people here. They speak different languages, their food preference is different, their beliefs are different. You see almost all religions here, right? And then their all linguistic diversity is here. So people from north have different preferences than people in south. Similarly, West and East are different. Central India is different. So Britishers said that this is not going to survive. But 1947 to 2020, the coin is on the other side. India has added parts that we shall discover. Uh, Goa was not a part of India. Puducherry was not a part of India. Sikkim was not a part of India. All of them have become part of India. And those who said this, Brexit has happened in Britain, and Scotland and Ireland want to break from Britain itself. So see how ironically the events have unfolded in due course of time. We have added, and the ones who allege that we will disintegrate, they are facing secessionist voices. So I'll not go much into it because that would be beyond the comprehension of the present text. So at that time, it was widely believed that a country full of such kind of diversity could not remain together for long. And partition, it actually allayed the fears, the kind of the rights that happened. Criminal environment was there. So these things were actually a very challenging thing, how to bring everyone together. Everyone is having apprehensions, how to bring them together, how to allay the fears and keep them on the same plane. Second thing, to establish democracy. Now, people reading these lines might wonder what is there to establish democracy. Do not forget that we are living in 2020. 1947, India was very, very different. In democracy, why? Because in democracy, eh, there was this parliamentary form of democracy where people will elect their own representatives and they will make laws, they will bring policies on our behalf, and they will govern us. So, political competition would always happen within a democratic framework. Now, the democratic constitution is necessary but not sufficient. The challenge was to develop democratic practices in accordance with the constitution. Now, in class 11th book, you have already studied Indian constitution at work. So, if at all need be, I'll take that book, but once I'll complete this book, only then. So, develop democratic practices in accordance with the constitution, right? The constitution grants you freedom of speech, but there is a reasonable restriction to that speech. Your fundamental rights are not absolute, all of them are qualified. So you are saying to your citizens, the country, the constitution is saying to the citizen that you have right, but there are reasonable restrictions. And in democracy, every voice would matter. So if you have a difference of opinion, you can articulate it in a democratic manner according to the constitution so that others do not feel the heat. Okay, so this was again a very delicate balance was there, because where my rights start, your rights would stop. Okay, you cannot go on kind of practicing your rights to the extent that it would curtail my rights, because if your rights are guaranteed by the constitution in a democracy called India, so are mine. So up to what extent can you go to exercise your rights, as long as it is not curtailing someone's right? So this thing was initially very difficult to be achieved. People were to be told about these things, people were to be educated about these things, and the politicians of those times had to practice these things in real life so that it percolates down to the majority of the people. Now, the third challenge was to ensure the development and well-being of entire society, and not only of some section. Again, you read the part 4 of the Indian Constitution, that it is the active principles. It it aims to establish equality. I'm saying aims. No one can bring absolute equality. That would be an absolute foolish thing to do, because me and you are differently abled. We have different skills. So we will carve a different niches for ourselves. Our destinies will differ because we are born with different kind of skills, and we have been educated and trained on different kind of skill. So some inequality will always be there, but bare minimum has to be ensured. Bare minimum, which makes life sustainable, which makes life livable, that has to be ensured. The active principles under part 4 ensures that. So again, the constitution comes into play. Principle of equality, special protection for socially disadvantaged and religious and cultural communities. So as I told you, in the active principles, they are in the part 4 of the constitution of India. These the actives have been added there, that you have must have studied in your class 11th book. Now, the real challenge was to evolve effective policies. So directives are like this: the state must do. Now, state has to make policies, make laws according to those directives. So that again was a real challenge, because initially things were very complex. Illiteracy was there, too much of illiteracy, too much of ignorance was there. The communication was not. It's not like I'm sitting in my home and I'm making this video trying to tell you a few things. Okay, technology was not there. Means of communication were limited. So everything, in order to convey an idea, howsoever good it was, it itself was a humongous task. I'm talking about 1947 and 1950 when the constitution was brought. So how did India respond to these challenges? To what extent India succeeded in achieving the various objectives set out by the constitution? So this is what this book tells you. And here you see, now they have given this introduction, what India intended to do. You see the stamps were issued, and these are the, again, Faz Ahmad Faz poetry is given here. You can skip this. It's not going to come in any of your exams. He was actually left of the center, and of course he used to write very well. Now this is Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and he also talked about something similar for his country Pakistan, that you all can, you see, even as regards Muslim, you have Pathans, Punjabis, Shias, Sunnis. He's trying to address the diversity in his country. Actually, what he said and what the country did is entirely different, but then we are not concerned with this in this chapter. So we'll skip it. And again, there are Amitabh Pritam is given here. Nehru's address is given there. He is trying to be very accommodative, especially of the for the Muslims. So he's saying that whatever provocation comes from Pakistan and whatever indignities and horrors inflicted on non-Muslims, he specifically says Hindus and Sikhs in Pakistan, we have got to deal with this minority in a civilized manner, which means they can do what they wish, but we will take care of our people. A Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh who is living in India is as Indian as anyone else. So clearly saying that we will not be adopt any discriminatory policies towards our people based on their religion. Very good thing to do actually. And partition has happened. And the two nations came into India, India and Pakistan, and Britishers have actually uh, kind of perpetuated and built upon these theories of divide and rule. So finally, the division happened, and that was a very tragic division. Tragic in terms of the loss of lives and property was too much for anyone to kind of bear. Generations were wiped off. No, such a division was not only very painful but also very difficult to decide and to implement. Like it was decided to follow the principles of religious majority. So again, the majoritarianism that happened in Pakistan, that it became a Muslim majority country, and everything was done to favor them. Unlike that, India made provisions for its religious minorities. So what happened was that there was no single belt of Muslim majority in British India. There were two areas of concentration, one in the west and one in the east. So there was no way these two parts could be joined. what this line is saying, that undivided India was not having any area which was Muslim majority. Okay, no single belt, as in single belt means one after the other. So what you see today as Lahore and Islamabad were in northwest of India, and what you see today as Bangladesh, that was in east part of India. So these two belts were Muslim majority, और बीच में ये पूरा इंडिया था. So that is why एक single belt नहीं था. Now how do you join these two parts? बीच में तो इंडिया है. अगर यहाँ मुस्लिम मेजोरिटी है, यहाँ मुस्लिम मेजोरिटी है, then in between there is a Hindu majority state which promises to take care of its religious minority. The problem is that how do you bring these two parts together? So a new country, Pakistan, was made which would had two territories. So here is Pakistan, and what today is known as Bangladesh was called East Pakistan. These two were one country. Okay, these 2 points were one country. Please remember this. Until 1971, Pakistan was known as Bangladesh was known as East Pakistan because Muslim majorities were divided from India. So West and East Pakistan separated by a long expanse of Indian territory. The thing that I explained you right now. Secondly, not all Muslim majority areas wanted to be in Pakistan. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Frontier Gandhi, he was called, the undisputed leader of NWFP, the Northwest Province, Frontier Gandhi, as I told you, he wanted to be with India, but you know, again, the book is not saying on these things, so I'm not going to that. His voice was ignored, and finally, NWFP, despite resistance from Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, became part of Pakistan. Now, the third majority problem was that of the two Muslim majority provinces of British India, Punjab and Bengal, had very large areas where the non-Muslims were in majority. So, despite these provinces being Muslim majority, there was a sizable population of non-Muslims there. So, these provinces were bifurcated. So, Lahore went there, Amritsar stayed with us. Dhaka went there, Calcutta stayed with us. Okay. So, religious majority, Muslim majority went there, Hindu majority stayed here. Now, on 14th or 15th of August 1947, these decisions were made and implemented. Now, there was fourth problem also. This was the problem of minorities, as I told you. Lakhs of Hindus and Sikhs in areas that are now in Pakistan had an equally large number of Muslims on the Indian side of Punjab and Bengal. They found themselves trapped. Now, imagine Hindus and Sikhs in Pakistan. They want to come here. Some Muslims here, they want to go there. Now, they felt like trapped on both sides. So, they were to discover that they were undesirable aliens in their own home. Okay. So, but the fact of the matter is that most of the Muslims stayed here. India has still more Muslims than Pakistan. So, those who went there, they were allowed to go. But Hindus and Sikhs had to flee those places. Okay. Very less were left there. And now, 75 years down the line, the number has further dipped, as the empirical evidence would suggest. So, now it was decided that they should and that process is to be facilitated. If someone wants to come from there to here or vice versa, governments must help it. So no one had quite anticipated the it was one of the largest migration, people from this India going to Pakistan and Pakistan coming to India. So very soon it was very violent, trains full of dead bodies would arrive. And so there was a violent repercussion to that dead bodies train coming here. So Khushwant Singh has written a book on this actually. So this lawlessness, this anarchy, and then we had the likes of Gandhis and Nehrus who said that no, we will not allow the killings of religious minority or any kind of persecution like Pakistan is doing. So yes, we were the good guys, and it became clear that the country was going to be partitioned. The minorities on both sides became easy target. Yes, the riots happened here, also riots happened, but for the greater good, they were taken control of. And people and political leaders kept hoping that this violence was temporary and would be controlled soon, but very soon the violence went out of control. So you see these pictures, see how people are traveling. This is actually a malgadi, not even a passenger train. No, it's a passenger train, but see, people are sitting on the roof. So it is one of the most unplanned and tragic transfer of population that human history has known. Very rightly written in your book. Killing and atrocities on both sides of border. The only difference is stopped quickly in India. It's still going on in Pakistan. In the name of religion, people of one community ruthlessly killed and maimed people of the other community. It's a bitter truth. Cities like Lahore, in fact, Amritsar and Kolkata became communal zones. Muslims would avoid going to area where mainly Hindus and Sikhs live, and similarly, the Hindus and Sikhs stay away from area of Muslim predominance. So they were forced to abandon their home and move across borders. People went through immense suffering. Minorities on both sides of the border fled their home and often secured temporary shelter in refugee camps. They often found unhelpful local administration and police in what was still recently their own home. So imagine people from Lahore coming to Delhi and they are living like a refugee. Indian government quickly, with due course of time, took notice of it, provided them with the basic services. But people from Delhi going to Lahore and Islamabad, the government hardly, did things the way they were supposed to do. So they travel to the other side of the new border by all sorts of means, often by foot. Such a long distance on foot. And even this during this journey, this they were often attacked. So actually, पागलपन दोनों तरफ चढ़ा हुआ था that time. India में it was quickly taken care of, but in Pakistan it went on for a very long time. Thousands of women were abducted. They were made to convert to the other religion of the abductor and forced into marriage. In many cases, women were killed by their own family to preserve the family honor. Again, such regressive things were happening. Children separated from their parents. Those who did manage to cross the border found they had no one. For lakhs of these refugees, the country's freedom meant life in refugee camps for months and sometimes for years. So you see Gandhi in Nakholi, genocide actually happened in Nakholi. That's in Bangladesh right now. So Gandhi was there trying to pacify the situation. So it was actually a division of hearts, as the writers and filmmakers in India and Pakistan have called it. So it was not only a division of property, liabilities, and assets, a political division of country and the administrative apparatus. Financial assets were divided of British India. Things like tables, chair, typewriters, paper clips, books, and musical instruments of the police band were also divided. That this will remain in India, this would go to Pakistan. Employees of the government and the railway were also divided. Above all, it was a violent separation of countries who had hitherto means until this time, lived together as neighbors. Okay, so until now they have lived together as neighbors. Now this was a very bitter division that was happening. Now, beyond the administrative concern and financial strain, however, the partition posed another deeper issue. The leader of Indian national struggle did not believe in two-nation theory, and yet partition on religion basis has taken place. Did that make India a Hindu nation automatically? Even if large-scale migration of Muslims to the newly created Pakistan, the Muslim population in India accounted for 12% of total population in 1951. So how would the government of India treat its Muslim citizens and other religious minorities, the Sikhs, the Christians, the Jains, Buddhists, etc.? So there were competing political interests behind this conflict. So Pakistan became, in fact, Pakistan remains the first Islamic republic of the world. Okay. So would India be a Hindu nation? And if that was the case, what would happen to the Christians and the Muslims and the other minorities living here? So it was decided by the constitution makers and the prominent leaders of those times in Congress that no, we will not be a religious country. We will not be a religious theocracy. Theocracy means a country which is governed by the religion, where constitution is a religious book. So we will be a secular country where everyone will have, his say, irrespective of the religion. Everyone will be kind of equal, and we will make provisions for accommodating the religious minority. Okay, so these things were done in India, and it was a huge pressure on Indian policymakers to turn it into a Hindu state, an answer to Pakistan Muslim country. But then that did not happen, and India became more accommodative and more pluralistic and more democratic in its approach. So the Muslim League was formed to protect the interest of Muslim in colonial India. If you read history, you will know this, the formation of Muslim League, and it was in the forefront of demand for a separate Muslim country. So they got what they wanted, but India said that no, we will not make India a Hindu country. We will make it a country for everyone, where everyone who could come and live peacefully. So India should not be a country that gives superior status to adherents of one faith and inferior to those who practice other religion, which means to say that no, everyone, whatever religion you choose to follow, or even if you are an atheist, you will have your rights guaranteed by the constitution in the democracy of India. In Pakistan, that's not the case. There, the Sharia would be the law, that is the Islamic law. So others will be differentiated, others will be discriminated against. There is no doubt about that. All citizens would be equally irrespective of their religious affiliation. India did that. So India became what is called a secular country. And this ideal was enshrined in the Indian constitution. Now, second problem was the integration of princely states. What happened was, I'll tell you, I'll just sum it up. You can read these lines. Britishers, when they conquered India, that you will read in history, if you read history, Battle of Plassey and Buxar. After Buxar, Britishers conquered Bengal. Now, Bengal of that time was Bengal plus Bangladesh plus Bihar plus Jharkhand plus some parts of Orissa, one of the most richest province. And after Bengal, they got so much of money, British, that they could finance all their wars. They were not dependent on England now. The company was not EIC, the East India Company, could finance all their battles in India. So they won, defeated the Marathas, the Sikhs, the Tipus, the Haidars, the Nizam, to some extent the Gurkha, Afghans. So they defeated these people. Now what happened that once in 1947, the Britishers were now about to leave India. So there were some British country was like British India and princely states. British India was the place, those states, those parts of the territory where Britishers were directly ruling. Princely states were under the monarchs. Now, these monarchs said, the kings and the prince said that Britishers are our masters. We will give them a regular revenue, okay, and we will rule here on the name of the British. Now, once Britishers are gone, these princes were like, now we are again kings. Our masters are gone, and once our forefathers, maybe our grandfather, our great grandfather after 1857 maybe did an agreement with the British, which made British the paramount power. Paramount means sabse bada, the paramount power. Now that Britishers are gone, there has been a lapse of paramountcy. Now we are again the kings. I hope you understood it. I'll repeat it. In 1947, when Britishers went, the princely states came under this illusion that now again we are independent and now we again are king and the queens and the prince, because our great grandfather, our grandfather did an agreement with the British way back maybe in 1857, 1861, whenever they did that. Now Britishers are gone, and when we did that agreement, when our forefathers did that agreement, they made British the paramount. Now British are gone, so we are the paramount. We are again like sovereign kings, but that was not to be. They all were made to realize that now you are a part of India. Monarchy is gone. It is an era of democracy, and India would be the world's largest democracy. So, how it happened? Sardar Patel called a meeting of Chamber of Prince in Delhi, where all of them came, and they were told, now you are no longer the king, you are a part of India. Okay. So, that was a tough thing because all of them were not willing to do that. So, you see, that's what is written here. What I just explained. Now, this text will become very easy. Just before independence, it was announced by the British that with the end of their rule over India, paramountcy of the British crown over princely state would also lapse. Paramountcy, my great grandfather did an agreement with the British, made British paramount. Paramount, I told you, sabse bada, the supreme power. Now, in 1947, when Britishers are gone, that paramountcy has lapsed. So now the current prince or the current king is the ultimate power. I am the paramount. Patel would tell me, no, you are not. You are a part of India. So this means all these states, how many states such there? 565 states would become legally independent. The British government took the view that all these states were free to join either India or Pakistan or remain independent if they wished. They, the decision was left on them. Now that was a serious problem for India. Now, how do you make India if all of them become independent? So there were few states that Travancore, currently Kerala, Nizam of Hyderabad, the most notorious Qasim Rizvi was the name. He raised an army. The name of the army was Razakar, and they used to kill the non-Muslims, especially the Hindus. Finally, what Sardar Patel did is known in history as Operation Polo. Hyderabad actually had most number of polo grounds in the world. It's also called police action. Within 3 days, Nizam was folding hands in front of Nehru and Patel. I hope your book has that photo. If not, I'll show you someday. So Hyderabad made a similar announcement. Then there was this Nawab of Bhopal. There was Prince of Junagadh, Indore. So 4 to 5 people were like, no, 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 we don't want to be a part of India. We'll remain independent. In fact, the Junagadh is in Gujarat. So he escaped to Pakistan. Junagadh became a part of India. Now his current generation living in Pakistan has said that Junagadh will be a part of Pakistan and we'll make our efforts. So they're still living in fool's paradise. So rulers like Nawab of Bhopal were averse to joining the Constituent Assembly. Now, Constituent Assembly, you all know, that gave India its constitution. Now, the response of the rulers of the princely state meant that after independence, there was a very real possibility that India would get further divided into. That's why the British said that you are not going to survive into small countries. So that was a very tough thing, how to mitigate this very thing. So the interim government took a firm stance. Interim mean the immediate government. The Muslim League opposed the Indian National Congress and took the view that states should be free to adopt whatever they did. But then Sardar Patel, the Iron Man, the then Home Minister of India, he was India's also Deputy Prime Minister and the Home Minister. He played a historic role in negotiating with the rulers of princely states. After firmly but diplomatically and bringing most of them into Indian Union, so he very firmly and very diplomatically said that you will not remain independent, you will be a part of India. You have no other option. Okay, so it was not an easy task, a very skillful persuasion. It's not like you can beat them or threaten them, but the way you convey that with India, you will have better prospects. If you remain independent, someday Pakistan would attack you, maybe someday some other country attacks you, maybe Britishers come back. Now become a part of India. We will grow together. So that took some skills. Okay, Sardar Patel had those skills, the way he used to say these things. Okay, the confidence with he conveyed these messages to these royals, these monarchs. So most of them became part of India. There were few troublemakers, but then troubleshooting also happened. So the government of India approach was guided by three considerations. First, people of these places want to be with India. So whatever the king said or the prince said, the people want to be with India. Secondly, the government was prepared to be flexible in giving autonomy to these regions, some regions. Like suppose you are like that, like currently in Northeast, there is very much of autonomy given to these places, and rightly so. Like, yes, you become a part of India. If you have some demands, tell us, we will implement it, but you cannot remain independent. We'll give you functional autonomy. Autonomy means freedom to do things the way you want under the Indian constitution. Okay, it's not like you will have your own country and your army and your own flag and your own police. No, you're a part of India. You have a diverse stuff than most of the Indians. You have some distinct entity, some identity. We will help you preserve that. No problem. But consider India as your country. So, thirdly, in the backdrop of partition, which brought into focus the contest over demarcation of territory, the integration and consideration of the territorial boundaries of the nation had assumed supreme importance because partition has already happened. Territory is to be demarcated. This is India, this is the Pakistan. So how will that territory take shape if your constituents are not united? So for these three things, first thing, that people want to be here. Second, if you have a difference, tell us, we will accommodate that difference democratically under the constitution. Third, the territories to be demarcated. For this, we need the consolidation within. So these were the three negotiations. It went on for 2 to 3 years. Hyderabad, 3 years it took. So peaceful negotiations started, and most of all these rulers signed what is called the Instrument of Accession, with the government of India, which meant that their state agreed to become a part of Union of India. So now Bihar has signed instrument of accession if there was some king in Bihar. So he is now a part of India. Similarly, all these 563, except four or five, the names that I just mentioned few minutes before, they all became part of India. So which were these states? The Junagadh, the Hyderabad, Kashmir, Manipur. More difficult than other. Bhopal was also there. Travancore was also there. But then they easily they were accommodated as a part of India. Now, Hyderabad and Manipur, what happened? So look at this beautiful guy, Nizam of Hyderabad, with Sardar Patel. Now he actually threatened Patel. How? Let me tell you. Uh, some parts of Hyderabad state are today parts of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Andhra. So it was ruled by the Nizam. He was one of the world's richest man, and he wanted an independent status. That I'll be a different country and enter into what is called a standstill agreement with India in November 47 for a year. That whatever you want or whatever I want, currently we are different, and this will go on for a year. Stand still as it is. There would be an agreement, and then we can negotiate. In the meantime, a movement of people of Hyderabad state against the Nizam rule gathered force. So the people were like, no, we want to be with India. So the peasantry in Telangana was victim of Nizam oppressive rule. So Nizam dealt with them with a very iron hand. He actually unleashed terror. And Nizam had his right hand. His name was Qasim Rizvi. He raised an army. The name of the army was Razakars. I think Qasim Rizvi name is not here. Okay, the name was Qasim Rizvi. He was very close to Nizam and he made this army Razakars. Now, these Razakars started killing people, raping the women, especially Hindus, because they said that we want to be a part of India. And he's like, no. And there was a standstill agreement, which means India could not intervene as of now until 1 year. So imagine what the Razakars would have done for a year in Hyderabad. So atrocities and criminality of Razakars knew no bounds. Okay, so they murdered, maimed, raped, and looted, targeting particularly the non-Muslims. Now, finally, India's patience withered away, ended. Finally, in September 48, Indian Army moved there. Few days, actually 3 days. The name is of this operation is Police Action or Operation Polo. I told you the reasons why. Hyderabad had largest number of polo grounds in the world. Within 3 days, the brave Rajakars were okay. We are gone. Indian army defeated them. How can a militia fight a trained army? So it ended in 3 days, and this is how it happened. Hyderabad became a part of India. Nizam Qasim Rizvi escaped to Pakistan. He went there. Manipur, again, a few days before independence, the Maharaja of Manipur, Bodha Chandra Singh, signed the instrument of accession with the Indian government on the assurance that the internal autonomy of Manipur would be maintained. Again, he's saying that we are have some distinct practices. We want some functional internal autonomy, some kind of freedom you need to give us. And under the pressure of public opinion, the Maharaja held election in Manipur and the state became a constitutional monarchy. Constitutional monarchy means that the king will be there, monarch, king, but he will be limited. He will be under the constitution, which means constitution would be supreme. The king would be somewhere here. This is called constitutional monarchy. The king has to function as told by the constitution, as the rules related in the constitution. Thus, Manipur was the first part of India to hold an election based on universal adult franchise. This can come in your MCQs. This line, please remember it. So there were sharp differences over the question of merger of Manipur. State Congress wanted the merger, other political parties were opposed to it. Government of India succeeded in pressurizing the Maharashtra to sign the merger agreement in September 49 without consulting the popularly elected Assembly of Manipur. So they did not consult the assembly, the Vidhan Sabha. They just talked to the Maharaja, and there was some anger in the state because of this. But now it's all over. So this beautiful cartoon. Sardar Patel is talking to the king and saying, "No, no, don't get up, Your Highness. Just give me this. That will do." So he's saying that your external affairs, defense, and communication. This suitcase is having these matters. So you, like, the king is sitting on its people. Okay, he is ruling over them. Patel is saying, no, no, you don't need to do anything, His Highness. He's addressing them with a lot of respect and saying, give me your external affairs, defense, and communication. Now, if a state does not take care of its external affairs, communication, and defense, it means the state is under somebody else. So he is actually making them surrender their sovereignty. Okay, so Patel made them surrender their sovereignty. Now, reorganization of state was to happen. The process of nation building did not come with an end with partition and integration. Challenges was to draw the internal boundaries. Now, what would be the map of India? Where would a Haryana was not there at that time. Where would a kind of Tamil Nadu be, and where would a Maharashtra be? So different state, how would be their map, and that is called. So the internal boundaries were to be made. So how, on what basis? So actually, in during British time, the state boundaries were drawn either on administrative convenience or simply the way British wanted. They had no regards for what Indians wished. So now that India is free, there has to be some consideration. So after the Nagpur session of Congress in 1920, even before independence, it was recognized that the basis of reorganization of the Indian National Congress Party itself, the principle was recognized. Which principle? Linguistic principle, which means on the basis of language. States would be made on the basis of language, and that's why Andhra Pradesh was separated from Tamil Nadu. The Telugu speaking areas from Tamil Nadu became Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so that is written somewhere in the book also. So this happened, and our leaders felt that carving out states on the basis of language might lead to disruption and disintegration, which means again it would be like you are Tamil, I am Telugu, you are Hindi, you are Bengali, you are Punjabi. So it was felt that this would draw attention away from other social economic challenges that the country faced. So the central leadership decided to postpone the matters. So leave it for now. We'll see it some other time, because again princely states still did not sign all these agreements with India. So this is how it was felt. Now I would end this chapter here. I will carry on from the next paragraph when I'll upload the next video on this YouTube channel. Also, I'll see the next chapter, the second chapter from this book. I hope all of you understood. If there is any issue that you did not understand, feel free, comment underneath this video. I'll definitely answer it. I intend to cover the both the NCRTs. So bye for now. We'll meet very soon. Everything will be uploaded on my YouTube channel. Thank you.